Thank you. Okay, we are here for our board meeting for the San Juan School District. Today's date is Wednesday, November 8th. And we have in attendance, we have Nan Barton, board member, Steve Black, Mary Shumway, board members, and also Nelson Yellowman and Lori Mon. We also have Superintendent Fitzgerald with us and our business administrator, Tyrell Pemberton, and other staff. Thank you for being here with us today. Our first item is to approve our agenda. So if I can get a motion to approve the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda.
Okay, motion by Mary. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Steve. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, any opposed? No. All right, and by the way, I forgot to mention, we are excusing Colleen Benally. She had a private matter to take care of today. So we'll turn the time over to the superintendent for our San Juan Quest update.
Great. I'm excited to report on our early learning goals. Back in August, Julie Holt gave us an update on those goals, that we were projected to meet those goals, and the state did notify us that we did meet all 3 of our early learning goals for last year. So that's exciting news. You know, to make that happen, there's a lot that is going into early learning, which includes early literacy as well as early numeracy. And some of those initiatives I just wanted to give you some updates on. So letters implementation and letters training for all of our teachers, which is a 2-year training program for teachers that they've participated in. And we now have 67% of our K-3 teachers that have completed that training and are implementing those practices in the classroom. And you know, some of those teachers, as they're coming in new, that's why that number isn't higher, but 67% is a big success. And that's really supporting us with our early learning goals. The other piece that's been an important part of that is our early learning instructional coaches. So using ESSER fundings and other funding we've had available through SJSD, we've been able to have an early learning coach both for the mountain region and the river region. With that funding shifting, we are in the process of hiring with SJSD an early learning coach that will support San Juan School District as well as a charter school in Moab. And then our other learning coach is partially funded now by USBE to support specifically Montezuma Creek Elementary School and Savannah Sky Elementary School to improve their early learning. So those are 2 things we're hoping with additional funding, those will continue again next year, but it's been a really important part for the last 3 years, their support and help in our schools. And then finally, really administrative's role in those goals and implementation. They had a special training for letters that was for administrators. This year, they'll be participating in a change management cohort through the state that helps them understand how to implement these changes in the school. So we're really excited with all of the support from all of our team members to make this happen.
Okay, quick question. Is the letters training mandated? Are we mandating that, or is it optional?
So it was mandated and supported by the state. As that's moving forward, they've worked with higher ed that teachers that will be graduating should have received that if they attended a state school. We are still looking at how will we continue to support that. We've had some funding support through RESAs. We had someone that was a letters implementation specialist that's helped us put some training together. That's something we'll look at ongoing with teachers. If a teacher moves grade levels and isn't letter trained, they move to K-3, or if a teacher's coming from out of state, you know, that's something we will still be looking to support. It's a matter of funding at that point and what that might look like as we move forward.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, thank you. That's a good update. Appreciate it. All right, we'll move to our discussion items. And the first one, Julie, do you have some information regarding that? Other than we just...
Most likely with San Juan High as well.
Okay, so this first item is a spend plan for the golf teams, and we received an email that it was not quite ready, so it will be brought back next month, correct? Okay, thank you. All right, so we will move to the spend plans for Navajo Mountain Student Council. Derek, you ready?
Good afternoon. Can you just push the...
Yeah.
Good afternoon. Go ahead. Okay. Anyway, good afternoon. So we're bringing forth the spend plan for Navajo Mountain High School. The first part of this is that there has not been a student government at Navajo Mountain in the past few years. So this is re-implementing that and then getting the spend plan in place. You'll notice the difference in comparison with other schools that there's 2 additional meals, and that's due just to the sheer travel length that they'd have to go through. So when they go to several of the conferences, so that's the additional pieces that are in there that show the difference in cost than other spend plans for the other schools that are comparable to this. And the update, as far as the individuals who are on the student council and student government, there are 2 from each class, so 2 seniors, 2 juniors, 2 sophomores, and 1 freshman. And they have did the elections and have got that verified. So there's already participation, and they're planning to move forward.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions regarding the spend plan? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate the information, and this will come back next month for another viewing. Oh, yes, you're up for the advanced placement concurrent enrollment. Go right ahead, sorry.
Okay, and so with concurrent enrollment, you'll see here, and this is just a snapshot from the 2023, it's called Tableau, but it's the early college course taking for the district. And we're sharing this information just because we get grant funding from that, so we just kind of want to share the information with you. And there's some notable changes. Most notable is there's increases in almost every category with the exception of 2, with the amount who are taking concurrent enrollment classes. And then again, from last year to this year, there's 8 who are taking AP courses, whereas last year there was no individuals doing that. So this data just shows that there's increases in that area as those taking advantage of that opportunity to earn college courses while in their secondary schools.
Questions, board?
No.
Okay,
All right?
Thank you. all right. Laura, we're going to go over our school calendar.
So we had 3 options that I prepared for the school calendar. Really, the difference between all 3 revolves around teacher days. So this year was our first year of having the 2 teacher days at the beginning of the school year, and then having teacher days kind of staggered throughout after each quarter. So I did poll all of our teachers and administrators. When I took these results the end of last week, we had about 171 responses. So that's a pretty good showing of our teachers and administrators that responded to this survey. The vast majority chose option 1, which is the format we are currently on, the 2 teacher days in August, a teacher day at the end of each quarter, and then the CCR day would be a half day of instruction. The least popular was our old format, which was the 3 teacher days in August with the full day off for CCR. And then we kind of did a hybrid one that only had 2 teacher days staggered out after first and third, so not one after the Christmas break. The spring break on the calendars does line up with USU. And then the only other change from last year on our calendars is we do have the CCR days on a Tuesday instead of a Wednesday, and that's based off of feedback we received from several teachers as well with our AB schedule that a Tuesday or Thursday works better for them.
Questions?
Are we involving the parents at all in looking at this?
We did not. That could be something we'd look at. Really, like I said, this really only revolved around teacher days. We always end the Friday before Memorial Day. Our holidays are roughly the same, so there's really not much wiggle room other than just if our teacher days would impact whether we start it on a Wednesday or Thursday. That is another. And we started on a Wednesday this year, and I think the feedback we've gotten from the schools is we did have better attendance with a Wednesday start day than we normally do with a Thursday.
So Laura, I have a question. With the option 1, when you look at the days in the quarters, let me see if I'm on option 1 and I'm not misquoting. Just a second. Yes. So the only complaint I heard is that fall break not kind of being, which I don't care for what they call a holiday, the deer hunt. But
And I did do a calendar. I messed around with one with the deer hunt, and that was going to really skew those quarter days. Like there was no way either quarter 1 was going to be very, very long or quarter 2 was going to be very short.
well, yeah, because see, the first quarter we have 41 days, but the fourth quarter we have 48. So
No.
if that adjusted, I mean, that was the only thing I would look at, but, so,
You have the natural quarter breaks, though. I mean,
Yes.
you have Christmas. So doing something in October would not impact your fourth quarter dates. Those would still basically be the same, especially if we were going to line our spring break up with USU. And that's why our fourth quarter always is a little longer, because we have that earlier spring break.
Yeah, and the only other thing I don't love is I do not love coming back from Christmas on a Friday. That's
Agreed.
that's
I
a tough
wrestled
thing.
with that as well.
I know. I don't know if you come back on it like I guess what I'm saying is I kind of like option 1 and option 2 and option 3 all kind of morphed into
Combined.
one. But I don't know. There's not a perfect solution. I understand that, but I do have a concern with that Friday. But I mean, if that's what we can do, that's what we can do. But I think we have some time to kind of.
Yeah, and I can do one that has the teacher day, maybe the Friday, and the start date Monday. Kids would have a full 2 weeks out of school.
I would like for the community, for parents to be surveyed on this, to send out something, say these calendars are on the website, please, or however you surveyed the teachers, because we've got all these people sending their kids to school. There are things that have been brought to my attention in the past, for instance, like that affect other activities in the community, whether or not they're, extracurricular, not San Juan School District extracurricular, but other things that they're involved in, and when they have those and when they don't. The half-day CCR day, whether or not that is productive. At Blanding Elementary, I was told, well, there's no way we can see all the parents, so we don't even try, is what I was told last year when they didn't see, well, I guess they didn't say we don't see all the parents, but we can't meet with all the parents. That school's too big. And so there was concerns that they didn't have an opportunity to schedule and go see the teachers because of the half day. And the school explained to me, our school's bigger than the others. It just won't work. And so I had lots of concerns that now, when do we meet with our teacher? It was twice a year, and now it's nothing because they want to do half day. And then how productive are our half days? I think we all know that Fridays, it's pretty common that's a less productive way, or a less productive day in some cases, not in every case. I know there's classes that are very productive, but some of them are less than that. So when we have a half day, what it does to people who are sending their kids to school, they have, whether or not they have daycare and those kinds of things. Also, anytime we shorten our summer, even by 1 day, people have their kids taken care of in the summer, and then the rest of the world isn't off like the school district is on these days necessarily. A lot of people, both parents go to work when there is, they have Christmas off, but they don't have 2 weeks off. They have Thanksgiving off, but they don't have Friday off. But some of those days, if we can have a longer summer and less days where parents don't know how to manage their kids, because in the summer it's a chunk of time that they work out more easily, and then these random days are just that. Those are some of the things that I've heard, over the past, if we can have that longer summer. Anyway, yeah, the Wednesday is just 1 day, but that was significant. The pool closes, the weather's warm. When we have a day during the winter, what do the kids do? And who's going to watch them, those kinds of things. But can we send this out to the parents and have a survey?
Yeah, that wouldn't be a problem. I guess I would want more feedback on if you wanted me to make some additional changes before I did send out a...
The only thing is, I don't have a problem with the survey with the parents. However, I do send a little bit of caution with the fact that, are we forming the calendar to the needs of the parents or forming the calendars to the needs of the teachers? And that's a very fine balance, because I think we have to really take into consideration those teachers and what kind of works for them too, to be prepared for when those students are coming back or there. And so, like I said, it's a fine balance, and I don't, there's not a perfect solution for anyone. I think we just do the best that we can. So, I mean, if we choose to send out a survey, that's fine, but I think we also can't disregard what those teachers were asking for primarily with that survey first too, so anyhow. But
And I agree, it's a balance, but we're serving students. That's who we, what is it best for the parents or the teachers? For the students is what I would say, is that we're educating students for the parents, and they should have a say, and all the staff at San Juan School District, if we can get, and then everybody's not going to be happy. That's a given. But maybe they have some insight that we haven't thought about, or some struggles, some real struggles that families have in getting their kids to school. How well attended, if we start school on a Wednesday because it's better attended, what about the half-day CCR days? Are those better attended than when we have a full day of school? Those can be burdens for families, and those are the people that we are serving, that we're all here for, is the families, and to educate their students. And of course, we need and value the employees who are serving them and what is the best way. But sometimes I do remember the half day saying, but we can count that as a full day. We get to count that. Are we counting it? Or are we, is it, okay, we can count that and we get one of our 180 days in by just counting a half day?
So I just want to remind us why we went to half-day CCR day is because of quite a bit of information from teachers saying they need additional planning time. And that's really the main reason we decided to do a half-day CCR, is it allowed teachers to have
Those
the
extra teacher days.
Which we did not have in the past. And those have been, what we have heard from teachers and administrators, that has been a really powerful tool for them to have planning time. And, we've set that day up under board guidance as well, is that we don't have any trainings that day. Principals don't have faculty meeting that day. That is just a teacher day to prepare. And so that's why. It wasn't
But at Blanding Elementary, they can't meet with the parents. And so what are the days that you can meet, unless there's a full day? They don't meet with the parents anymore. And so it's also an expensive day to send kids for half a day. Our Fridays are more expensive, the travel to and from and the time that kids spend on buses. And those are more expensive days than when you educate kids all day long. So there's more to, in addition to taking the information that the teachers have given us, is do we want that expense of 2 more half days in our school year? And how do we solve the problem at Blanding Elementary, where the teachers don't schedule time for the parents to come in and visit about their kids twice a year because it's half a day?
So first of all, I think Nelson has a comment, and then Julie, can you speak to that CCR day for Blanding Elementary? So let's hear, Nelson, did you have a comment?
I just wanted to say the same thing that you said about the deer hunt for fall break. I don't know who all goes deer hunting anymore. I got lucky. I went this year from the last 10 or 15 years, but I was still unsuccessful. So what I've heard in the South, in the River Region schools, are the teachers are parents as well. And on holiday breaks in the past, I think school started again before Friday, or it doesn't correlate with the time that they have to travel out of the area to go back to their families, relatives for the holidays, and then come back again and have to start like either at the end of the week or the middle of the week. So I don't know what's been changed or accommodated for that. So I think the teachers, like someone said earlier, we are here for the students and the teachers. Those are our 2 priorities. What works best for teachers, I would recommend that, because like I said, the travel is probably one of them. And for the students on the river school, I don't know if their time starts, our school district starts the same time as the college dates as well. So for those students, we need to accommodate them as well, because they do ride buses to get to the school for their college classes as well.
The college usually starts at the end of August, so as far as starting, we're already in school before college courses start. But then that's the other priority of trying to line up our spring break with USU as well.
And I think the survey would be a good thing too, because we'll get good response from the teachers at all campus. I don't know what you could do. I mean, Blanding is the largest community in the county, so you can't get everybody to have their input or come to the school and meet. That would be a good thing, but
Well, it's good, if we give people an opportunity to give their input and tell us their struggles with different things, I just think that's an important thing to do for the public, is to give that opportunity. And
Julie, do you want to talk about that?
On the first CCR day, when we went to the schedule.
Oh, can you come up? I'm sorry.
On the first CCR day, when we went to this schedule, Mary is accurate that that did not happen because it was overwhelming. And they offered, the teachers chose to offer workshops for parents instead of meeting with individual parents. That was a new idea that elementary schools were looking at. All schools were using a little bit of a different model. Since then, that has changed, and the last 2 CCR days, they have offered parents to come in. They used Online Scheduler to offer that, and this last time they used the Google Calendar, and they offered it to every parent that wanted an opportunity to come in and meet with teachers, and that worked really well. Some of them met late into the evenings, and it worked well. So that's the clarification I have.
okay, thank you for that.
So I think to kind of wrap up is maybe send the 3 calendars out. But we probably ought to try and look at that first option a little bit.
For coming back on a Friday, is that, or just?
Well, I don't know. Does anyone else feel coming back on a Friday after Christmas is hard? I mean, do you?
Yeah.
I feel that's a little bit of a concern. I'm not sure how we're going to have the attendance, but, and if we can't tweak that fall break to coincide, that's fine. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the Fridays.
I could double check it, but I mean, I've got the deer hunt one, I did do that, but the quarters were so skewed that I didn't even want to put them up. Like, it was 30 days or
know.
something, like, it was really short, because we do end, and we do like to try to have, like Nelson said, we have a lot of our teachers that are leaving for the holidays, so I didn't want to go too far into before Christmas. I want to give people a chance to have some travel time before Christmas holiday starts as well, and where it landed good on a Monday with the 23rd, so.
Well, and your option 2 actually fits kind of more that.
It's a later,
Kind of that, but it's the teacher days.
it's a later because of teacher days.
But it's the teacher days, so if we want to help with the teacher days, then the option 2 is kind of, but, I mean, just looking at option 2, it's a great option for both
The
those
later
items.
days.
Option 2
But-
is,
Well, because you come back at least on a Thursday,
Yes.
not a Friday, but
but
then the
starting on
teacher
a
days are all in the
Thursday
front,
is-
which kind of voids.
It's a 3 in the front, and then you don't have any of after the quarter. You have the full CCR.
Or you even put, yeah, I don't know. Good luck. So maybe if you want to relook at them, or if you just want to send them out the way they are and get the feedback, that's fine too.
Okay.
And that way, if things are sent out and then parents are saying, why did you, it's like, well, did you respond? Did you get involved? It really helps allow them to have input, and then it kind of mitigates it when they didn't bother to look at the calendars and give any input. It's a big deal. The calendar is a big deal. Even though it's.
Okay,
And then we've gone with this model for many years, and whether or not anybody's ever interested in looking at something drastically different, I don't know. I'm not personally, but there could always be
Last year,
that.
we had calendars going past Memorial Day, and it was a pretty hard no from this group, so I didn't mess with that. So if we're going to have a very set ending date and we have very specific holidays, there's not a whole lot of wiggle
In all
room.
honesty, the weather is crappy here in June. I would love for kids to be in school through most of June and not start till end of September, because the weather's amazing, but
sports
Yeah.
starts in August regardless.
some things we can't control. Most things we can't control. Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
Thank you. All right, Tyrell, the BS follow-up.
A couple of updates.
Will you pull her mic? Sorry.
There you go.
I'm sorry. It's been a couple of months.
I
but-
know. You sat in the other chair.
Yeah. All right. A couple of updates. We did submit an updated application for the Blanding Elementary School project to the Rural Schools Capital Projects grant money that the legislature funded $50 million. We are hoping that the latest that I heard from the State Board of Education is that they're going to meet next week for initial review of those applications, and then they'll take the recommendations to the State Board of Education with hopefully having final approval on those applications on the January 11th State Board of Education meeting. So we have a couple of months where we're kind of in this wait and see period as far as the funding goes for that project and receiving some of those grant funds to help us complete the project. So that was submitted before the deadline for those. Another update that I have from the design team, they're hoping to be able to have the documents prepared to bring back to our committees that we met with earlier, I think it was in August that we met, to bring back design documents and to provide an update to those committees sometime after the Thanksgiving break. So, and they're really hoping that we can get that in. So Superintendent and I met real quick just to kind of find a time, and we're going to try to schedule something between that Thanksgiving break and the Christmas break that we can meet with those committees to provide an update, so that the design team has that time to provide the update to those committees, and then also to take any feedback and make adjustments on their end. So that's upcoming, and I know Mary and Nan, you both participated in those committees. I would assume you'd want to do so again, and we'll let you know when we come up with a date to have that involvement, to have them provide an update to us. So that's upcoming here in the next several weeks. And then the last thing on here is, a huge thanks to Mary and Nan for participating in our evaluation process for early contractor involvement for the Blanding Elementary School project. And you have that proposal tabulation there that's on your agenda. We had 2 submissions for that for a general contractor involvement, and the committee met last week after that closed, and that's the recommendation there, and that will be on as an action item a little bit later in our meeting today. So any questions on those updates?
Does anyone have a question? No. So we only had the 2 who sent out or requested to be considered?
We had 2 proposals.
And no one local?
2 proposals that were submitted in response to our general contractor RFP that we submitted.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, so 2 that were
Okay.
2 proposals submitted in response to our RFP that we had advertised.
Do we usually have more? That kind of common?
So on Bluff Elementary School, I think we had 4. On Monticello Elementary School, I think we had 3. So in visiting with BDK, their assumption was in their current construction market, I think they made the comment in our meeting that, we were kind of lucky to even get 2 with the way that some of the construction market is going right now to submit. So
Just because they're so busy, or?
yeah, there's
Okay.
a lot of projects going on throughout the state, and then our economy and where we're at. So
Sure. Okay.
I would have loved to see more than 2 for sure, but
Which they look like, I'm sure it'll be fine. It's going to be fine, right? Okay, thank you. Anything else? All right. We will turn the time over to the superintendent for board committee proposal.
Okay, so we talked about board committees last time, and then last board meeting, then just requested anyone who preferred a certain committee to put those recommendations into Board President Mon or myself. So we kind of put together some proposed committee assignments. These are just up for discussion. This doesn't have to be where it lands, so if you have some preferences, we could still make some changes. So where we already have Nan and Mary working with our BES Capital Planning Committee, we'd recommend that they stay on that committee for BES. And then for non-BES, having Nan and Steve Black on our capital committee. So that way we're still covering our other projects, but specific to already the work we've been doing with BES, that we can continue that. So that's for the capital planning committee. For the audit committee, we currently have Lori Mon and Steve Black. The teaching and learning committee will be more involved with textbook adoption, and we are looking, at some textbook adoption coming up. So the recommendation there was Nan Barton and Colleen Benally. Policy committee, Lori Mon and Mary Shumway. And then the USU CTE Advisory Committee is specific for CTE, and they're in the process of developing that right now. So the recommendation would be Nelson Yelloman. Part of the recommendation is knowing that USU is going to be breaking ground most likely next May on the USU extension in Monument Valley, which will have a lot of CTE offerings, concurrent enrollment offerings with the high school. So we thought having Nelson on that committee could be helpful as we move forward with that project as well. And then JOM and Tribal Consultation Support, Nelson Yelloman and Colleen Benally, as they've been, attended the JOM National Conference this year and could continue that support as well. So those are just possible assignments. Would love to hear any discussion and recommendations and thoughts.
Looks okay. I had reached out to one of you, sent an email. And so did you have other requests? And so so that's fine.
Yeah, so, basically those that reached out kind of ranked them, and so we filled it in the best that we could and kind of juggled it a little bit. So it may not be perfect, but, I'm willing to do whatever. I don't have a problem moving if someone is not happy with where they're at. I can move or whatever you'd like.
Interested in the teaching and learning committee, but that's all right too, because policy's not terrible. It's not a terrible place to be, but.
Sure. And one thing too is policy, didn't we say was meeting once a month?
It's going to be monthly, yeah.
Which might be a little more difficult for travel if you're not in the area right here. So that was one consideration too, so.
Or you could join virtually, but I think policy committee is going to be a little bit more cumbersome for time than
Right.
the other committees, so consider that. And we really did try to at least give everyone at least one of their
Yeah.
preferences, so that you at least, with your recommendations that you gave that you'd like to be on.
I'm good where I'm at.
Okay.
I love government.
So one other thing, Steve and I are on the audit committee, and Steve has actually been working on, it is still in draft form, for some guidelines for our audit committee. Do you want to speak to that a little bit, will you? About what you've developed and why we feel that's important, and hopefully with each committee.
One of the first things we decided to do as an audit committee was to do a handbook, just like we have the board handbook, just so that we have it in a document, what our responsibilities are, how we interface with the board, with administration, just kind of roles and expectations, putting that down on paper form, just so that it right now it's guiding us on knowing what we should be doing as an audit committee. And I see that the handbook in the future just providing some continuity as you get new committee members on that committee.
So you're going to be willing to write all the committee?
He's got his own.
I don't
and
remember
one other
saying
line
that.
item down here, Steve Black,
I don't
on
remember
that,
saying that.
on the handbook committee.
And the handbook, it's really one page, but it's very helpful. He's kind of, there's a little bit of code, what the code is with the audit committee, and it's been a very good guide to follow with that, so, let me just turn that off. So anyhow, I think has been very, very helpful. So you can kind of look at the draft that we have, and eventually we would get some administration help with that on drafting a little, some of that. It doesn't have to be lengthy, but it does spell out exactly what is expected and what our role is, and bottom says how often we'll probably meet, so it's a good guideline. So I would recommend that highly, but.
It's good.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Any comments?
I think that's a good idea with what Steve was saying. You know, I could do something similar with the Johnson O'Malley and the travel consultation. I could have the Indian Education Committee or the program director come and give us a presentation and disseminate some materials as well. And
That'd be great.
and hopefully I could get my council delegate or, you know, chapter officials here to share some of their information and whatnot with us.
Perfect. I think that'd be great.
So
I appreciate that.
they would be more of, I don't know, consultant or additional help, I guess, maybe. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. And then just reach out to the superintendent, let her know whenever you want to do that. So I think the last thing is with setting these up, we're going to need to create a schedule of when those meetings will be, so you'll take care of that, correct?
I will, and some of them will be, like, policy committee we'll try to make it recurring, so it's
Right.
like similar dates. I'll reach out to those 2 committee members to work with you on that, with thoughts that we have on that. Some of the other committees might look a little different. You know, we have some upcoming dates for a presentation on some textbooks, so, I mean, those dates might be a little more fluid. Same with the capital planning committee might be a little more fluid as projects come up and as we move through projects. So just as someone might not be as specific as others. And USU CTE will come directly from USU, so Gina Grover, our CTE director, is working on that, so we'll be in touch about that as well.
Okay. So, yeah, everyone look forward to your new assignments. Okay, thank you. All right, you want to go ahead on the report cards?
Yes, so our Utah School Report Cards were released on October 31st to the public. So I just wanted to do a brief overview with you in this open board meeting about some of the numbers for the district and how to access individual schools and what that information is that's available. Just a reminder that school report cards no longer have a letter grade. So the points and scoring are still on there, but there is no letter grade to tell you kind of where that grade falls. So will you just scroll down? So this is the district, and this will tie into our next discussion a little bit of October 1 enrollment count, but you can kind of see enrollment numbers, population by student groups. I do want to point out one particular thing on teacher experience, because I think this is really exciting for our district, where we've had challenges with retaining teachers and the number of years that they've been teaching. So if you look at this change, if we look over the years from 21, 22 to 23, 0 to 3 years, we have been at 21% both in 21 and in year 22, and this year it's 10%, which then makes our other numbers better, right? So we're going from 4 to 6 years was 14%, and then 18%, and then this year it's 13%. And the really exciting one is 7+ years in teaching. We went in 2021, we were at 65%, 2022 at 61%, and now we're at 78%. So that means we're retaining, if we dig down into the data, we're retaining more of our teachers longer, and recruiting teachers with more experience. So that's really exciting to see those numbers, because time in the classroom develops our teachers. So I wanted to kind of celebrate that number with you. If you'll scroll down, Aaron, we're just going to click on the first school here. All the schools are listed underneath the district, or you can search individually for the schools. If you'll scroll down a little bit, Aaron, so we've got on the screen. You can see each of the components that are being evaluated. So we've got achievement, and each school might look a little bit different depending on what they're testing for by the grade level. So it'll look similar on here, but just realize the testing for science is going to look different than language arts and math. And then, so your achievement, that's percent proficient, according to the state assessment. And then growth, you're looking at growth. And the growth, I think, is a really important one to always think about, is that's really what we want to see is students that are coming in at a certain rate, and they take all of those students that are coming in that same area, how much do they grow over the next year to assessment? So growth is a really important indicator of how we're doing. They also measure the growth of the lowest 25%. So we say students who are in the lowest 25% in achievement, how much are they growing? Because that's a different group typically than maybe your middle group of students. So you can see for this school that's a good percentage growth. And then English learner progress is also measured. So both learners making adequate progress, so comparatively, and then those reaching proficiency. And then if you'll scroll down, Aaron, I just want to show them where the points. Oh, it used to be you could see the letter grade at this bottom part, but this shows you the point system. So you can see for achievement, there's 56 points possible. And then you'll see on the right the points that were earned for this school. And then growth is 56 points, which is 37% of the total score. English learner progress is 13 points, which is 9% of the total score, and then growth of the lowest 25% is 25 additional points. So that target group is really saying, how do we move those students that are in the lowest group to grow the most? So I kind of want to give you that overview so you see, as you now can look at any of those schools, you can dig into this. And if you click on the view details on any of those categories, it will give you information over time. So the first thing we'll do is compare it to the previous year. Remember that our River Region schools did not have testing data, so this will look a little different for them. Those arrows may not be there. Also, if you'll go over, Aaron, and click on view details next to right there. That's going to give you the school average, the district average, and the state average, and then over time. And then also, how did the school perform by student group? So we have presented to you in the past about targeted school improvement, which is now called additional targeted school improvement. So that's looking at some of these other groups and how they're performing. And you'll hear more about that in another board meeting. But that at least gives you an overview if you want to dig into any of this data, kind of how to do that for the public and for our community to know, to look at their school report card and what does it mean, and then for the board as well. So any questions about school report cards?
Is ours? Oh, okay. Got it.
And this is linked on, the link to the school report card is, the district report card is linked on the school website as well under parent engagement, so parents can access this as well.
Okay. Thank you. No questions? All right. Okay, we'll go to our enrollment count. If you'll
Okay,
to that.
we can talk about enrollment count for this year. It was a little delayed because we moved a board meeting, but that's all right. So you could see we're at 2831 for this year, which is the lowest in 10 years. So that's an interesting number. I think, as we look at some of these schools that have gone up or gone down, that's probably the one thing that I would highlight as you look at, MES has gone up. TES and Monument Valley both have decreased. We know that we've had a decrease in time with both of those schools. Just looking at the pandemic was part of that, and I don't know, we can guess about why this is happening. I think some of the impact might be there from still recovering from the pandemic and families having left for jobs during that time period and haven't returned. That's a possibility. I don't have any expertise data to give you that, but it's just in the thinking there. And then just a little bit of a drop at MHS as well. And then Whitehorse High School has gone up. So we know there was a bump in increase for Montezuma Creek Elementary. We know we enrolled a number of students from the boarding school and a boarding school. Some of those have gone back, some have stayed, but some of that increase is also just Whitehorse as well has had an increase.
Do we, I don't know if anybody has this number off the top of their head, how many kids are homeschooled now that would normally go to Blanding Elementary? Ooh.
We could probably look at homeschool approvals. We could pull that data. We'd have to go back through that, but we could get that number for you for next board meeting.
Because I know it's a growing number, and that's going back to the calendar and things like that, where people are in some cases disenfranchised by the amount of flexibility or interest that the district shows to parents, and those kinds of things. Those can factor into how many students we have enrolled. And so
Yeah, I mean, we definitely can pull some data for you. I think the other piece is homeschool comes through the board agenda as well. So, I mean, we can go back through that, but we don't see.
I think there are kids who are being homeschooled who haven't filled out forms, and I'd just be interested in how many.
Yeah.
5 in the Blanding area who haven't filled out forms have been encouraged to, and I know of 3 who started the year initially as homeschool students and who have approached the school to request a dual enrollment.
Oh, good.
Even at the elementary school level.
Good.
Because the school actually was willing to be flexible and make accommodations
Good.
that they had not previously asked for.
Oh,
So
okay, good.
there's
Yeah, if
that
we can-
started out with a year that's, I think in particular, the elementary school ones are the ones in question, and, they're returning.
Oh, good. Yeah, the perception, sometimes it's a perception too of, and sometimes you can't please everybody. That's a given, and we can't always accommodate everything, but that's good if we've got some coming back. I'm happy
They
about
really
that.
Bent over backwards, I've spoken to
Good.
principals extensively, and they're magicians in what they're trying to do to help some of these needs that parents are
Yeah,
asking
it's a lot of work.
And I think there's a lot of work on that part. Eva's been a part of that in the schools to say, we're requesting homeschool, but then they realize once we start the conversation that there's other options. And so
Okay. Oh, good.
oftentimes that's what she's saying is that
Okay.
dual enrollment component. And, sometimes with homeschool, it's an individual situation and the circumstance changes and they come
Sometimes it
back.
has
Yeah.
nothing to do with what
Yeah.
anybody's doing at the school or at the district. There's a variety of reasons, but if we can have, if we can get kids in our schools, that's ideal.
But it's still interesting, though. If I see the comparison between TES and Montezuma Creek and Bluff, Bluff's been pretty steady. So makes me wonder what the secret is. We'll ask Barbara when she comes.
But, one interesting thing with those homeschool requests, though, because I read the reason, and they don't always put a reason, so
Right.
unless they speak it verbally to someone or someone knows
Yeah,
it
they don't have to,
privately,
and most
they
of the
don't,
time
but
don't.
some of them, I'm not saying that this is not the reason, but most generally, I've found that, I've never really read them that they're completely disgruntled with the school, other than they have, like, private reasons, or personal reasons, or religious reasons, or, like, the one that's attached, to me, feels like more like a religious reason why they are, so, I don't know, it's interesting why they
It's
do
all
pull
over
them.
the place, yeah.
Yeah, so, I don't know. All right. Any other questions regarding that? Okay, we are through our discussion items, and we don't have direct reports until 4 o'clock, so I think actually we will have a break until 4, about 13 minutes. Is that all right? Thank you. Ready? Okay. All right, so we are to our director reports, so, Barbara, you can hear us.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Good afternoon, we're glad you're with us. So.
Yes, thank you.
We can see your slides, so what I'm gonna have you do first is I would like you to speak to first of all, let's speak to your challenges that you're facing, and then we're gonna speak to your celebrations. Will you address those, both items?
Sure,
Okay.
I can do that.
And if you need to
And-
implement any of your data in there with your challenges, go right ahead.
Okay, I can do that. But thank you for this opportunity for me to share information about Bluff Elementary Eagles. And there are a lot of great things happening at the school. And I wish I could have, there's a lot more celebrations, but I picked just a few of the top ones. As far as the celebrations on attendance, and attendance has been an ongoing issue, an ongoing challenge. However, I feel like this year, I feel like we just really need to celebrate it, and even towards the end of last year. And because as we look at our data, and as far as our data, I provided that for you as far as each month, what our percentage is. And then for first quarter, we were at a 90.92%. And so I go back and look at last year, first quarter, the end of first quarter, we were at 88.74%. So we've increased since then, but I feel like we just really had a great start on that at the beginning of the year. We had a back to school night, and we shared with parents all about our attendance procedures and processes that we have in place, and all about the various celebrations and encouragement that we do with students at school and with families. So we shared that with families, we shared that with our students, and so they're quite aware of what's in place. And We worked very hard on being transparent with families as well on our attendance protocol. And we've got an attendance flow chart that we put in the parent handbook, and I share it consistently through the monthly newsletter, and I share it with parents every chance I get, and we have it on the various places. And anytime we send reports, an attendance report home to families, that's included as well. So I feel like we're really transparent about attendance and the protocol that we want to try and establish with families. And so because of that, if we go down to the very bottom where you see the increased communication between school and home, I feel like parents are really helping us in that process and wanting to be a team player, because they're starting to call into the school more and more, letting us know if the child is not there for the day as to why they're not there for the day. We appreciate that. And teachers are calling or emailing parents as well on day 2 if no contact has been made. And we put lots of information on our school marquee as well. Some of the things you'll see on there is attendance matters. And perfect attendance is what we're aiming for, but we realize there are some things that come up, and we can work with that as far as we have great communication between school and home. And the other celebration we have is home visits, and that's been an awesome thing for our staff, our teachers, being able to go and visit the homes and visit families. And we've probably been doing that for the last 5 years now. And our families are now to the point where they welcome that and they appreciate that and they look forward to that, especially the students. And it just gives a better understanding of our students' home area, and teachers look forward to doing these home visits, and families know that we care about them, and relationships are built, and it's even deepened even more so with these home visits. So those are all our great celebrations that we have. And then as far as challenges, some of the challenges we faced is we just feel, as a staff, and I did talk to my staff about this, and we just feel that one of the challenges to be able to have our children, our students, be able to read more at home and begin to learn to love to read and enjoy books, and have and be able to get with their families and read together and discuss and talk, and teachers do prepare reading calendars, and they encourage students, and they get all excited about it. We get little celebrations that we do for students as well that bring their reading calendars back, indicating that they have read at home, and they can read as long as they read. They can read to their little sister, little brother, if they can read with their parents, if they can read to their grandparents, they can read to their pets. It really, we just want them to be able to have that read and text time, and look at if there's discussions that can happen also. That's what we encourage. So that we just feel like that's just been an ongoing challenge of ours also, and we've done various things, and sometimes it's great the kids do it, but it just hasn't become consistent. And then some additional resources to create more time to support students with all the various targeted needs. Yeah, there are a lot of needs in our school, as well as I'm sure at other schools, but I feel like our teachers do an awesome job in really looking at the academic part of where the students are, their targeted needs, and specifically what they need so that they can make that progress. And I just feel like we just need more resources to help us in that area. And by resources, what I'm talking about is just interventionists. We just really need their support, because teachers utilize them so very well. And the communication between teachers and interventionists are great. It happens on a daily basis with some progress charts that interventionists keep. And once a week, they're able to communicate and see what progress has been made and if they've met the goals and what next week will look like. So I just feel like that really has been strengthened. We just, we're just looking at the fact that we just wish that we had more interventions. I realize that our numbers and student numbers are low, however, there's still high needs in our school. So those are our celebrations and challenges at Bluff.
So, first of all, and then I'll see if the board has any questions, but I'm especially impressed with the home visits because that is very time consuming. But I think the payoff is great, especially when those teachers know, maybe a student's struggling because of things that are happening in the home or whatever it may be, but a greater understanding for what they're dealing with. So that's something I agree with, a complete celebration. So the other question I have is on your, where you talked about those additional resources, do you have volunteers that come in and like maybe read with children that are struggling or any community members? Because I know Bluff has a lot of retired community members that, does that work at all in your school or not?
We're starting to get some. We've actually had one lady who was started this week. She's been looking forward to coming and volunteering, so I've oriented her throughout the school and introduced her to the teachers and to the students, and so hopefully we'll get her on a consistent basis, and she's willing to do that.
Oh, that's great. So, okay, does anyone on the board have questions or comments? Okay, Nelson's gonna.
Hi, Barbara.
Hey, Nelson.
I'm really impressed with your attendance regardless of your challenges. When I look at the numbers comparison to TES and Montezuma Elementary School, your school is a small enrollment, but the attendance is great. It's awesome. So I appreciate you on that with your celebration. Now, as for the challenges, you answered my question that I was going to ask with the needing of more resources. So I'm just going to strike that one. Thanks for that one. The other one. What's the relationship with the your council delegate from Mexican Water chapter? He's from that area. Does he attend the school, come and visit you? And because I think you would get a lot of support from the Mexican Water chapter with your challenges about reading programs and encouraging parents and others to read with their kids. Makes me wonder why the communication is with a student that they don't take the time to read at home. Are they busy tending to livestock when they get home, or makes me wonder what it is.
When we visit with students, they indicate that, yeah, they have chores when they do get home. But we said, all we ask of you is at least 20 minutes a night. And that's all we ask of you is 20 minutes a night. But you just got to make it consistent on a daily basis. And we understand they have chores. We understand families have various needs and various issues and various things that come about. And, however, we just still feel like 20 minutes a night is really not asking a lot. And so we just encourage students to continue to try their very best to fit that in, even though sometimes they may just be with their grandparents or a babysitter or, at a different home. So as far as resources for them, as far as books, we give them plenty of books. Whenever they need books, we can send some of those home with them. They do check some out from the library, but we've got ample amount of books that we do provide for the students. And so as far as their resources, that's not an issue.
Okay, thank you for responding.
I have just a follow-up with that, Barbara. With the books that they send home, I noticed, a couple of years ago or something, when I was reading with some of my grandkids, they didn't seem to have, and I didn't follow up and ask, but, and it's here in Blanding, but they didn't seem to have books that they were working on from school that were, within their reading range, or their, that it was just, so, and I found that that's easier for kids to read if it's words they're working on and they're not too hard and they're not too easy. So is there a standard in with our, the Basil or whatever we're doing? I just haven't asked this question for a really long time, that they have a book that goes right along with what they're working on in school that day, or that work that they take home, and there are additional books that they can take? Or how does that work?
There are, as far as teachers at school in the primary grades, there are different skills that they do work on, and it's systematic and it's in an order. So as far as these books or these, sometimes, it's a paper copy, other times it's just other programs that we've collected. So we've got decodable books from that have those same skill sets that they're working on. So those are sent home as well.
Okay.
As well as some of their own interest of
Okay.
what they like.
So in a folder, they would have something they could read every night that is geared to their level specifically, and they may have extra, additional things in their backpack as well. Is that?
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. One of the things I've thought of, and I agree that I don't think 20 minutes is too much. That's really beneficial to every child to read for 20 minutes, and I think that's very standard. But in my own life, sometimes when I have got to go for 20 minutes, and I think, there's no way I have 20 minutes. So sometimes I don't do anything. Instead of, I've got 5 minutes, or I've got 10 minutes. And so possibly, 20 minutes can seem overwhelming to somebody who hates to read, and a parent or grandparent who hates to help a child learn to read. It can just seem overwhelming. And so, maybe if you don't have 20 minutes, do 10 minutes, or do 5 minutes, or anything to encourage starting. Sometimes the thought of starting something is the worst part. And if you think you just have to do it for 5 minutes, maybe people who have a hard time reading for 20 minutes will read 5 minutes, because that sounds, like something they could possibly convince themselves to start with. But just a thought.
Exactly. And teachers are great too. They do take the kids to the library, and some of them, they do sit there and just have an opportunity to read. And just to give them an opportunity and say, look, this is 10 minutes, or this is 20 minutes, and so we give them ample time to read at school.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. I appreciate what you're doing.
Barbara, thank you for joining us. We appreciate your input and what you're doing down there, and you've got some great things going. So we wish you the best the rest of this year.
Yes, thank you very much for this
Okay.
opportunity to share.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay, then we get our technology report. But you're just going to speak to us because I personally don't understand all your stuff in there. I'm being honest.
You're the only one.
I mean, I tried hard. I really did.
I often say that I cannot chew gum and walk at the same time. And I'm always reminded of that when I try to do that. So.
And I must say, you and your department do an amazing job with our board meeting, so thank you.
Well, thank you. We've got a lot of really smart people that help us, and you guys make it easy. You're easy to film, so that's good. So we have, our department is always changing, always evolving, always trying to improve, and some of our really overreaching goals are things like cybersecurity, reliability of resource access, meaning, are you able to get to your emails? Are you able to get to your slideshow? Is your student able to get to their assignment? Are teachers able to use the resources that are there? We also practice, we also aid in student and staff physical safety, so things like cameras or facility management, access control, things like those topics. Digital equity is always on our minds and always something we're trying to ensure that we do the best we can to ensure that we have an equitable experience across the district. We also have a lot of innovation and support of our staff, of our teachers and our coaches, and how we get that out to individual teachers and how we get that out to for the benefit of the students. And then always on our mind as well is student data privacy. Not only how are we protecting the data that that we collect, but how are we teaching those that access and have access to that data how to be good stewards of that data. Couple of things that we continue to work with. We try to monitor cybersecurity by industry best practices and make sure that we're compliant in our updates, and our facilities are under the best protection that we have. We continue to redesign and harden our data centers. We have data centers that exist in this building that we are trying to insulate against power failures, insulate against environmental control failures, and things like that, because that affects everybody in the district. Student and physical safety, our cameras and our camera systems, we've had a lot of improvement on those over the last 2 years as far as the reliability and also our training on those things. That's been something we've had a lot of support for. Our uptime has increased, and the amount of cameras that we have available to our schools has increased to the point now that we're not having to chase our tails and fix problems. We're able to say, okay, where do we need cameras now? What do we need to, how do we expand or help administrators better have the visibility they need in their buildings? Digital equity, using resources to improve access for technology for everyone. We've coordinated with state and local resources for our innovation, with our teacher trainers and our technology coaches in the building. That includes a position that we've hired with the ELL department, and we have a coach now dedicated to best practices digital instruction. And our student data privacy, we continue to try and train on that, make people aware of it, and work with the safety to make sure that where our data's going, it's safe. And it's protected not only by us, but if we pay a company to provide a service to us, that they have the proper protections in place. One of the big things that we were able to do, both Superintendent Fitzgerald and Tyrell really were supportive of the ViewSonic boards in each instructional space. Those are boards that are interactive for teachers, We had been using smart boards in the past, and they were great, but we had outgrown those, and we had outpaced their use. So we were able to use some funds. I think we went over that last board meeting on the ESSER funds, and we're able to upgrade ViewSonics in each instructional space across the schools. So all of our instructional spaces have those. RRLA is continuing to operate. We have some opportunities right now for funding that we're excited about. One is with the Utah Board of Education, and they're going to the legislature. And there is another option that we're looking at, working with UETN to make sure that we have those supplies and the support we need. In fact, they've decided to kind of come in and help us, and have started to help us in that way as well. Right now, we are currently going through that process of updating and hardening our data center in this building, making sure that we have adequate battery life and environmental controls to make sure that that data is safe and that we are able to deliver reliable service. And, we have increased capacity in our department management and of applications and of programs, which has been good. And sometimes you'll learn things because you want to, and sometimes you read books for 5 minutes, right? so we've been able to learn to do a little better job with application management and rostering. Video monitoring maintenance system, I mentioned that, and then I really can't say enough about Tyrell and the communication I've had with this business administrator. His visibility into our department and our operations is great and helps us move forward. And in fact, there's been a lot of coordination through departments. Our challenges, again, RLA is always a challenge. Business continuity, making sure that email's up, that Google Drive is working, that people can do the job they're here to do, and teachers can do their jobs. We continue to expand our initiatives in the district, which is a wonderful thing, but technology touches everything, so we have to try and be ahead of that curve as much as we can. Aging systems, always a problem in technology, and trying to prioritize what is our most important or our most vital system to upgrade. There's always this idea of security and convenience in a network. How secure you are sometimes means you're less convenient, or sometimes if you're more convenient, you're less secure. So we have to try and strike that balance with teachers and with students. Making sure that we're utilizing the tools that we do have in place is one of those challenges that we sometimes have, and then prioritizing our demands, managing any new technology in education, our interoperability as far as functioning across departments and across systems, and our ability to talk with other systems and to be talked to by other systems, and then recruitment and retention for the diverse needs of our district. So those are kind of our goals, our challenges, and our celebrations, and I'd be happy to take any questions.
Does anyone have questions? Go ahead, Nelson.
I'm just happy that you're looking into some more fundings for the RRLA program. When we had our region board meeting here at one time, I mentioned that to the group that we ought to approach the legislatures again to try to get some more funding. And I didn't attend the most recent meeting in Moab, so I don't know what the update is on that. But
They didn't update us, did they? Or did they?
No, but we can give you an update on this. So there is a legislative funding request, and it's coming from the Utah State Board of Education. So they're supporting this as one of their legislative requests. So they do have a proposal to go to the legislature from Utah State Board of Education. So they partnered with us, and they're taking the lead on it. So, which is very exciting because that increases our chances of receiving that funding from the legislature. And Aaron, you added.
Yeah, and the idea there is that we would get another 5 years that we can as we bring in things like BEAD funding and which is a broadband connectivity fund and things like that. The hope is that we will be out of the RLA business as those as the telecommunication companies are installing in our communities, especially in the where we cover with the river with the RLA project.
And I do agree with you greatly with the aging systems, because I'm hesitant to ask for help when it comes to technology. My son is an IT individual working for the oil company, so he worked for UNHS as well before. So when I have little issues, I go to him and, Pops, I've told you this, how to do this before. So he does tell me that, it's a constant update is needed because it's on the market, things change. Cyber security is another thing, so I understand what you have to deal with, so appreciate the report, thank you.
So my last, just throwing out there, especially with student data, privacy and everything, and with artificial intelligence, I mean, you hear reports of like taking student pictures and then using it for explicit photos, and it's not even of them, but their face on. I mean, I've heard all kinds of reports. I mean, I'm sure that's in the back of your mind to some degree.
Certainly.
AI.
Yeah, and I think, we have to try to attack it from multiple fronts.
Sure.
Digital citizenship and understanding what happens when you put your pictures out there is one piece of that. Making sure that those things can't happen on our network is another piece of that. But yeah, that's artificial intelligence right now is a big topic in education. We've seen the power of it, and it has a lot of power. And we do have some teachers using it. Currently right now is we don't allow that on our network. I think that might change, but I think we have to I think we have to be a little bit patient and let some of that bluster kind of settle before we try to jump into the fray of AI. And that's kind of my approach. Maybe because I'm older and I've just watched a lot of these things, it seems like if we get out ahead of our skis, we can make decisions that aren't the best. But.
Right. So, well, I know everyone's world crumbles when their computer doesn't work that day. So thank you for what your department does. It's amazing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. We are down to our break, but actually we have some closed session items if the board would like to do those before our break. So the closed session item we need to address is personnel. So if I can get a motion to go into, and we'll make the motion, Aaron, and then if it's approved, then we will give you a few minutes to set up, at least 5 minutes or so, okay? So we need a motion to go into closed session for the discussion of personnel.
Do we have to be more specific? It seems like.
Not on personnel.
Not on personnel, okay, couldn't remember. All right, well, I will make the motion to go into closed session to discuss personnel.
Okay, motion by Mary, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Okay, roll call. Mary, do you want to start?
Mary Shumway, yes.
Nelson Yellowman, yes.
Lori Mon, yes.
Steve Black, yes.
Nan Barton, yes.
Okay. All right, so we're going to take a 5-minute break to get set up for that. And then I need Laura Derrick is coming in on that first piece. Is Julie around? Yeah. Okay. Face the audience and we will come with you. And turn around. There you go. And
We ready?
Yes.
Action. Alicia Black, Bluff Elementary staff. Alicia is willing to do the job needed to support students. She is flexible, will do what is asked of her. She is amazing with the students. She has a strong connection with them and they respond well to her. Alicia goes the extra mile needed to accomplish tasks and support the students she works with. She works well with teachers and is part of the Bluff Eagle team. Way to go, Lisa. You rock.
Thank you. I'll just stand. Okay, so our next two are our soccer coaches. So we have Courtney
and Nydia.
and Nydia. If you'll both come up, thank you.
We'll swap sides.
Okay, this is about both Courtney and Nydia, so I'm just going to read. Courtney Hurst and Nydia Jones did an awesome job this year, stepping up as our girls' soccer coaches. And we know that was kind of a last-minute thing, and I know how that goes, and I'm really proud of you. They are hardworking women who are passionate about the girls at San Juan and soccer. They stepped in and did an amazing job. We are excited to see where they will take this program. Nominated by Ryan Nelson, Principal, San Juan High. Comments from the parents and players submitted to honor their coaches. Our coaches encouraged me and made me want to improve, and I did. I improved a lot. I love how they are always pushing us to do our best and level up. I love how they want to see me improve and be my best. I really like that we can talk to them about anything. This soccer season was the most fun I've had. I can't wait for the next season, and I'm glad we are going to be getting together during the year to play more soccer. I love how they were fun but ready to help us improve. I love that they trusted in my ability and put me where I would be of most value. Our team was so close to each other. I've been on a lot of teams, but never felt the closeness we did as a soccer team this year. I love our soccer team. Best coaches ever. Exclamation, exclamation, exclamation. As a parent, I was impressed with the positivity that was always involved with my daughter's soccer team. She came home exhausted every single day, but was happy. There is something special about a coaching staff that can work kids to the bone and have, but it's cut off. I don't know what it was gonna say. My daughter looked forward to practice every single day and cried when the soccer season ended. We are lucky to have these two great ladies coaching our daughters.
Way to go, ladies.
That last line said, and they are happy about it.
Congratulations. Thank you.
We appreciate you coming, and you can tell that you all have a lot of support with your family, friends, whoever you have here. So thank you. And thank you for what you do for our district. We now have citizens' comment, and you are welcome to stay as we finish up the rest of our agenda, or you are welcome to exit if you prefer. So don't feel like you need to stay. We'll give you a second.
There's out. I don't put you on. We'll have lives, huh?
Okay, and we have one citizen's comment that Eva will be reading. Thank you.
This comment was received via email from Griselda Rogers. She is the Education Director for White Mesa, the Ute Mountain Ute Tribe. And she states, I would like to ask the school board to approve transportation for White Mesa preschool students. White Mesa currently has 7 students enrolled in class. 3 of these students have welcomed a new brother or sister within the last 3 months. 1 student does not have transportation and relies on White Mesa education staff to pick up and drop her off at home. The majority of the students are late for school because parents have to tend to other siblings who are at home. Having transportation for these students would help get them to school on time. Students can attend daily, and the parents wouldn't have to get their babies ready to be taken to the center to drop off their sibling. Many of these students have only 1 vehicle or none, which adds to their tardiness or absenteeism. Please consider getting transportation for White Mesa students. This is a positive move to get students prepared for their ride to Blanding Elementary when they move to kindergarten.
Okay. Thank you, and the superintendent will reach out to that person who made the comments, so thank you. All right, we've already been in closed session, so we'll move down to the consent agenda. So if everyone's had a chance to look at that, I will request a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Board President Mon,
Yes.
there are a few questions that I would like to ask our business administrator. So with that, I will make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Okay, so I have a motion by Nelson and
Second?
a second by Mary, and then discussion. You can go right ahead and ask.
Okay, now, in the past, several years ago, a business administrator, former, in Tyrell's position, had asked or suggested that we look at the consent agendas and anything having to do with funds, we should ask questions. So I thought at this point in time, I would do that tonight, looking over the monthly checks. And there's 2 or 3 items pretty similar to all of them, I guess. So if you look at page 1, I question, there is a NTUA and an NTUA Cayenta in the amount of $19,034.88. I just wondered why there's 2 Navajo Tribal Utility Authority, one with the Cayenta. So that's one of the questions I have. And then there was another one that had petty cash on page 2 as well, in $612.50 with no names as petty cash. If you look at others, there's some other petty cash with names on it, so just this one particular one kind of looked out at me. So, and then there's another one on Utah Navajo Health System in amount of $129,600. I was just wondering what type of services that they're doing for the school district that we're paying them. And then the last item on page 6, I talked to Tyrell about this one earlier. I think this is what Aaron Brewer was talking about as well with the internet. And this one is the GenCom in the amount of $89, $3.12. I don't know what these are. There's some of these acronyms that I don't know what they are, but maybe in the future, if they're written out, I can have a better understanding.
Yeah, do you want me to address each one of those?
Just a couple, just fine.
Okay, so I can do some more digging and let you know specifics, Nelson. On NTUA, I believe one is because of our Montezuma Creek community and the other is because of our Monument Valley community. Excuse me. And so we're billed from 2 different offices at NTUA, and so one pays for the schools in the Montezuma Creek community, and the other pays for those other schools. And that's why you're seeing 2 there. The petty cash with no name, I'll look into specifically the check number and and can follow up with you individually. I believe that's probably from, we sometimes will cut a petty cash check for returned wages if we have an employee that their bank account information is inaccurate from what we're given, or they changed account information. In order to pay them, we cut a check through accounts payable to take care of that. So I'll look into that and let you know on that one. Utah Navajo Health System, we're making payments there to provide additional traditional mental health services and supports for students, our Native American students in a lot of our schools, and then also just an additional support in social emotional wellness for our students, our mental health supports, as they're looking to support us in those efforts. And so we have an agreement with them to make those payments to continue the supports for our mental health for all of our students. And then GenCom is general communications, I think, Aaron, is that? I think so. Anyways, they're a state cooperative contract that the state of Utah did the procurement for as they're in one of their portfolios, and they provide a lot of educational technology, and so we've utilized them to put in a lot of the ViewSonic display boards that Aaron mentioned. And our intercoms were procured through general communications from GenCom, so that's who that company and vendor is.
Okay, thank you. Board President, I think it's probably appropriate to question some of these items once in a while for the record of auditing. So that was my only reason for questioning these.
I appreciate it. Maybe
Thank
I'll
you.
put you on the audit committee and I'll step off. So, no, and it's funny because I actually had met with Tyrell and Steve for audit committee meeting. I had a question on one of them, so, yeah, but I appreciate that information.
And just prior to the board meeting, I asked this, how does a same line item, and talk to the superintendent. So, and we probably should be more familiar regularly with where when we have the regular checks that go out and who they go to, and why, and then those that aren't regular that we.
Yeah, so I appreciate that. It's good for everyone to have eyes on that, so thank you. And thank you, Tyrell, for having those answers.
I have an additional question, and I've asked this in the past, and I don't know that I ever really understood and this is our school budgets. So our school budgets, they're not necessarily all standardized throughout the schools. One will have another one. And I was just curious about this one, and it's probably been listed there for a very long time. I didn't go back. But looking at things, you notice different things, different months. But the snacks and pop one at Monticello Elementary School. None of the other schools seem to have a snacks and pop, but they've got participation and fines. And I've been a little bit confused about those different allocations, when participation and fines, and then anyway. Why there's a snacks and pop at Monticello Elementary and it doesn't exist anywhere else? Is that a self-funded thing that they have snacks and pop there that people buy, and it's not really district funds that just provide snacks and pop, or what?
Yeah, that's my understanding, is that they have the account because they utilize it at the school under their accounting at the school, but it's self-funded by the teachers and the staff at the school. But I can follow up with Monticello Elementary specifically and get you some more information on that, but that's my understanding with it.
Okay.
And then, did you have another question with it, or?
No, just, I probably would like to have on the agenda sometime, so we go through to see some things are fundraisers and some are donations, and there seems to be duplicates. If we could maybe have that on agenda and standardize those funds from school to school. I don't know if we can put it on the agenda sometime, just to go through those school funds and so that all of us understand them better. I should completely understand at this point in my life, but
Okay.
Anyway, that was, I just was wondering about that one because no other schools seem to have that. I know high schools have the concessions as a budget, but those aren't standard throughout I mean, they all handle them differently. So that was it. So, thank you.
Anything else? All right, so if I can get a word.
Oh. we're
We
gonna
made the
vote
motion, we had
now.
the discussion, now we
We're
need a
gonna
vote. Sorry. I totally forgot where I was at. So all in favor of approving the consent agenda? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. And then action items, of course, not the calendar adoption, we'll go past that, but the new Blanding Elementary School General Contractor Early Involvement Selection. So we'd probably need to state that that goes to, well, the motion, why don't you state who you would like to award that to? So, based on the selection process in our discussion.
I move that we award, or select, rather,
Yes.
Westland as a general contractor for Blanding Elementary.
Okay, motion by Steve, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, all in
Yes.
favor? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Typically, when we select a general contractor, we're accepting a bid. And so here, we're just selecting the general contractor without the bid. So are we giving them a green light for, spend as much as you need to on this project, money's no object, or can you kind of give us a feel for how that all fits together?
Yes. So, as part of the proposal that they submit, a cost is a portion of that, of the scoring criteria that we had. The way that we requested the fees be submitted was, one was a flat rate fee for early involvement for pre-construction work. And so that much, they submitted that, but then the rest, there's several other things that are included with the cost. One is, they have the bond fee percentage, what do you call it? Let me pull it up here so that I don't tell you the wrong language. Sorry. So the proposed fee percentage for procurement bid packages, so that's a percentage of what when we actually go out to bid the project. Because right now, we're hiring a general contractor to help us with some of the construction questions that we have in the design phase. And then when we go to bid the project, which we're hopefully going to do in April of this upcoming year, they have a percentage fee for what that would be. And then also their proposed monthly general conditions and proposed total general conditions, which in visiting with BDK, as we go through the process, as we finish out the early involvement for that lump sum fee, for the pre-construction, as we get closer to the actual bidding of the project, we'll sign a contract with them that outlines the rest of the fees, and those could differ a little bit from what is proposed in the proposal. So that'll take place a little bit later on. And so when we met with them this past week, BDK mentioned, make sure that you're selecting a contractor and not necessarily the exact price, because as we go through this, there may be some changes in what their final fee will end up being, because we don't know right now what that'll look like based on when we actually go out to bid and what the procurement package is. Right now, that fee percentage is 3% that they have on there.
So there will be a subsequent phase of awarding a bid then? Is that what, did I understand you right?
Yeah, so
Okay.
So we are selecting this contractor to do to be the general contractor for the project, but there would be a subsequent contract that would be signed and put into place with them outside of just this lump sum fee for the the pre-construction early work that's being done. So the anticipation is that they would continue on with the project after they do the early involvement work for us during the design phase. And that would be we would continue working with this general contractor through the entire thing. But right now, the only fee that we have 100% set in stone would be that lump sum fee for the early involvement.
Thank you.
Okay, any more questions? So, well, just to follow up, just to make sure. So if they do all this and then all of a sudden we say, okay, we come back and have the contract and the fee's higher than we had expected, I mean, we can back out, right? We don't keep that from start to finish. It's just this lump sum in the beginning.
Yeah, if some, I don't know that would ever really happen with
Okay.
what they, with what they propose as their fees. I don't know that they would all of a sudden change on us and say, no, we want to do it this much higher, but the proposed month, like their general conditions to do the work could change based on the scope of the project as it gets finalized with the design team. And so that's why we're saying we don't have the full, proposed total general conditions as a total, because we haven't fully finished the scope of the design with the project.
Okay.
So, yeah, if something were to dramatically change, we wouldn't be locked into
Okay.
continuing forward.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, Superintendent, you want to do the information items?
So next board meeting will be December 13th here at the district office or virtually. And then we do have Thanksgiving break coming up with school out with November 22nd through November 24th.
Okay. All right, and seeing there's nothing else, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Lori.
It wasn't